Speak on the show, episode 35. It's an unscripted Saturday. Y'all ready? Oh, y'all ready? Let's go. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's your boy R.W. Quillens. Welcome to Speak On It. First and foremost, giving honor to God who allows me to come to you in this manner on a weekly basis. I'm back, y'all. Happy after Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope everybody enjoyed their Thanksgiving. Hold on, something's not coming in clear. Hope everybody enjoyed their Thanksgiving. Got time to spend with family and friends over the holiday. And, we got another holiday coming up, Christmas, right around the corner. We're in December, y'all. We're in December. So we're going to celebrate, have a good time, enjoy each other, and do what we do for the holidays. Let's get this from out. It's an unscripted Saturday. It's unscripted. It's unscripted. Let's get into this. rwcoins.com. That's the website. You can go there, follow, share, do what you do. For all the other shows you may watch, all the other people you may be engaged in their conversations, do the same thing for the Speak On the Show, all right? We're broadcasting live on YouTube and Facebook this morning. You can download the audio after the fact on Spreaker.com or Apple iTunes. On the Apple iTunes, it's Speak On This Show. And we got some changes going to be coming up, but we'll talk about that near the end of the year, going into the new year. We're going to change some things up. 844-904-2665. That's 844-904-2665. No matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. All we ask is say what you mean what you say. We come in as friends. We leave as family. That's what we do here on the Speak On It show every Saturday morning. Big Al, good morning, brother. Your audio is not sounding clear today. Oh, don't tell me that now. Don't tell me that. You sure it ain't on the air? Michelle Long, good morning. Let me check something out here. Hold on a minute. Let me look at my settings now. Mic check 1, mic check 2. Hold on one minute. See if that helped it out. Hopefully that cleared everything up. Hopefully. I like to be clear. Let me know if y'all can hear me loud and clear. But yeah, we gonna go on with the show. We got some technical. It's been a week, been about 10 days really when you count all the time in there from the last show we had. So that's what we're gonna do here on the Speak. I appreciate it, bro. I appreciate it. Thanks for letting the brother know. I told you I'm a one-man operation here. When we have these technical difficulties, these things happen, but we got it right. Appreciate that, brother. So, unscripted Saturday. Let's go on and get into this. Before I start, we had 2 veteran spotlights that I did over the last 2 weeks before we took the break for Thanksgiving. So I want to also reiterate their websites and the great conversations we had. If you didn't get a chance to listen to it, go back, listen to the shows from Mark Cheek Speaks LLC, the transition services he provides, and Dr. Robert B. Piles and his Anchoring the Big Six. We talked about his whole life, his entrepreneurship. Go and listen to that. Go and download those shows, listen to those shows. Good information, veterans doing big things, but I want to give you both of their websites. MarkCheekspeaks.com, MarkCheekspeaks.com for transition. He's a transition navigator, and RobertBPiles.com, who's an author, entrepreneur, and so forth and so on, the big 6 that he does class with. But he's also an author, and we didn't get into it last week, but he has 5 or 6 books that I want to touch on real quick. One is called I Love My Wife But. Then he has another one called I Love My Husband But. Relationship books that, a husband and a wife can read together, find out where they may be coming up short and everything like that. Also, The Power of Understanding Personality in Leadership.
Another book, The Keys to Productivity, Proven Principles That Stop Procrastination and Propel You to Purpose. And then Anchoring the Big Six. So we got those books by Dr. Robert B. Pyles, but you can go there to his website, robertbpyles.com, order the book, get a book for yourself. Also go back and listen to the episode. Go back and listen to the episode. As far and Mark Cheeks as well with Mark Cheeks Speaks LLC, markcheekspeaks.com. Go there to his website, find out what he may be to help you with or somebody else with, trying to help these veterans and get those services out to everybody. So TC, my brother, what's going on, bro? Appreciate your support. Good spending time with you and the family over Thanksgiving. I appreciate the invite, and we had a good time. Appreciate you. All right. Let's get into this. Let's get in. Georgia. The runoff election. December 6th. Nothing to shy away from. Nothing to just take for granted. We got Raphael Warnock, Herschel Walker. We've been hearing about this race for the longest. Georgia, do y'all's thing. And when I say that, I'm not telling you who to vote for. Get out and vote. Get out and vote. Do what you're supposed to do as far as your voting rights. Get out there and do that. But if you pay attention to the race, if you pay attention to what's going on in Georgia and everything like that, then you'll understand what your best choice is as far as who should be put in office. But I'm going to get into something a little later on about that conversation about Herschel Walker and other things that I've been hearing that haven't been sitting well with my soul. But we get into that here shortly. But here's the thing. Right now, the House has Republican control. 221 to 213. I know there's still a couple races that haven't been decided or haven't been, finalized, but it's 221 to 213. So it looks like the Republicans are going to take over the House. And I say that for a reason. I get some hair on my shirt. I say that for a reason. The Senate, whether Warnock wins or not, if Herschel Walker wins, then it'll be a 50-50 split, just like we had before, with Kamala Harris being the tiebreaker with the Senate. Everybody knows this, but I'm just rehashing it for those that don't. If Warnock wins, it's 51-49. You don't have to worry about Kamala Harris coming in and be a tiebreaker or anything like that. But then you got those that go across the aisle to try to do bipartisanship, so on and so forth. But one thing that jumped out at me after this election is something that I was reading was, if you watch the interviews, if you listen to what the Republican Party that's going to be taking over the House says with Kevin McCarthy as the majority speaker per se, if he gets voted in, because they're still going back and forth about whether he's going to be the speaker for them. One of the biggest things that they're talking about has nothing to do, anything that they're talking about has nothing to do with the people as a whole. Let's just start there. They have not talked about anything for this election, now that they have control of what they're going to do to enhance your life, my life, or anybody's life, or any of those people who have voted for them. And I could go down this myriad, but there's only a couple I'm going to touch on. And here's where they start. One of the first things they're going to do is they're going to remove the metal detectors from the Capitol. Remember, the metal detectors were put in after January 6th because of what happened on January 6th. And now the Republicans are saying that they want to take the metal detectors out because of it, they don't need it. Okay, that's one of the biggest agendas right now is what they're talking about. The other thing, they're going to open the House members' office buildings back up to the public and no longer require visitors to be escorted by a staffer. And this is where, to me, the Republican Party is not paying attention to the climate. They're not looking at the audience. And I say that because if someone can go to Nancy Pelosi's house in San Francisco where her husband was at, beat him with a hammer, what do you think people will be able to do if they go into, or if they have intentions to do something inside? See, this is a different atmosphere that we're talking about here after January 6th and leading up to January 6th. You still have people out here who want to impose their will on what the government should be and shouldn't be. But you want to take out metal detectors where people can come in with whatever they have. You also want to let people come into the house without having escorts or anything like that. There's problems with the things that they're trying to eliminate. And what they're trying to do is make it seem like They're for the people. They're doing this for the people. The Democrats were uptight and everything like this. But what we can't remember, what we can't forget, is January 6th was an insurrection on the Capitol to overthrow the will of the people. No matter how you try to sugarcoat it, it's factual. They also want to eliminate, and I agree with this, no more proxy voting, where if you're a senator, congressman, or senator, or a congressman, or whatever, if you're not there, you can't get someone to vote for you. My thing is, why was this ever an option? I know it was done during the pandemic, but here's where my issue comes in. If you're being paid by the people to fulfill a position, to be there when votes are being taken, you need to be there. I understand things came up, but just like me and you and everybody else who has a job, if you have an engagement you need to attend or something, a doctor's appointment, everything, you put in for a leave request, but you schedule, most of us do, schedule around meetings or certain situations where we have to be present. Why shouldn't they be any different? So I agree with that. They're going to rescind the appropriation of 87,000 new IRS employees. So what they're going to do is they're going to go in, because Joe Biden's administration said they want 87,000 new IRS employees. House Republicans are going in and they say they're going to take it away. They don't want 87,000 IRS employees. So all those people that have been getting away with not doing the taxes right and everything like that, they're not going to have that oversight. Not important to me, not important to you, but it's just a play. It's just a play. Border security. Talking about border security. And I had this conversation with somebody the other day about border security. My biggest issue with border security is they're concentrating on the southern border. And you've heard me bring up stats. I brought up numbers. I brought up illegal immigration that happens all over the United States, coming from Europe, coming from Asia, coming from the Canadian border. The southern border is not the only issue we have when it comes to immigration, but the only one they want to concentrate on is the southern border, which should tell you everything you need to know. People are seeking asylum at the southern border. People coming in from Asia, people coming in from Europe, people coming over from Canada. Those people are coming over on immigration visas, or they got a certain time limit. And as I mentioned on the show, and I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but there was thousands and thousands of people who overstay their visas that they don't put search warrants out for, or try to find or try to deport them. But the people at the border who are trying to get away from impoverished nations and what's going on in the nation, they don't give them an opportunity. Now, there is a way for them to come in legally, but it seems as though to me that the southern border is just one of those things that just keeps on harping and harping and harping. And then they're after Hunter Biden. We're back at the Hunter Biden investigation again. For some reason, it keeps going over and over and over again. They want to impeach Joe Biden. They want to impeach the Homeland Security Director, Mayorkas, I think his name is. They want to impeach Merrick Garland, the Attorney General. So none of these things that they've already talked about they want to do now that they have control of the House has anything to do with you or me. It has to do with their political positioning and their agendas as far as trying to change the directive or change whatever Democrats have done previously. They want to overthrow it. How you feel about it is how you feel about it. I'm just putting the information out there. You judge it how you want to judge it. But I'm just going to sit back and I want to watch, and I will be reporting. What are they doing? What makes sense? What doesn't make sense? Just like I did with, when we talk about Democrats, when they're in office, where everybody was arguing about and on Joe Biden about the gas price. And now that the gas prices are down to $4 or something, everybody quiet. They blamed it on him for being up, but nobody gave him credit for them coming down. What scale are we using here? What are we doing? It just depends on who you are and where you sit. Before we get any deeper into something else, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who was reelected, she appointed a 34-year-old state representative, Kyra Harris Bolden, to become the next justice on the state Supreme Court in Michigan. This is a historic move that will make her the first Black woman and youngest member of the court. 34 years old, lifetime appointment. I haven't heard any big news flashes on this, that she's the first or the youngest, I haven't seen anything about this, but Kyra Harris Bolden, remember her name. First female, African-American female, and the first black woman and the youngest member of the Supreme Court in Michigan. There's been some pushback. Her age and lack of judicial experience have been a point of scrutiny. She hasn't been a judge. leading up to becoming a Supreme Court judge. But she was a state legislator. So she says she's been involved in all this. And this is what she said. There's also 5 justices that didn't serve as judges previously. People have decided that that is a particular course they are okay with. So appointing her and voting her in and everything like that, a lot of people haven't had a problem with, because previously before her, there were 5 justices that didn't have any judge experience. But she's the new judge on the Supreme Court in Michigan, even though it may not be one of those that a lot of people are happy with. She's there. She's there. The youngest and the first in Michigan. Give Michigan a shout out, y'all. You know, everything ain't good in Michigan, but give Michigan a shout out when it comes to that. Before I go any further, now that I coughed, I thought about this. That time of year, y'all. I'm not telling everybody to go out here panicking and nothing, but there's a whole lot of different strains of flu, of sickness in the air. I've seen people posting where they've been down 6-7 days for coughs, and I got a buddy of mine I talked to got post-COVID condition and all these different things we talk about. We're in that that part of the year, November, December, going into January, the flu season and all that. Take care of yourselves. Get your vitamin C in you, get your echinacea, get all those things that you normally take emergency, you know, post-emergency, before the emergency, after the emergency, all that stuff you can take right now to help you prevent from catching something. Take it. Take it. Do what you got to do. Do your due diligence. And I'm also say this. If you are feeling bad, let me just put this out. If you are feeling bad, stay away from people. If you're feeling bad, quarantine yourself, move yourself away from people. Stop going to these events knowing you're sick and trying to get other people sick. That's where it all starts from. If you feel under the weather, why are you going to go out here and attend something where you affected other folks? It doesn't make sense to me. OT, good morning, my brother. Good morning. Take care of yourself. Do what you got to do. Do your due diligence with your health. Drink your teas. You know, take your ginger shots and all the things you may do to keep your immune system up to date. Take care of that. Take care of it now, not after the fact. When you're walking around here, I got a little cough. I ain't gonna lie, but I've been trying to take my things. But you know, these things happen. These things happen. All right. So do that. Do that. So this week, former President Trump expressed support for the rioters behind the deadly January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol in a video during a fundraiser Thursday that was hosted by the Patriot Freedom Act, a group that assists families of those charged in the riot. He said, people have been treated unconstitutionally, in my opinion, very, very unfairly, and we're going to get to the bottom of it, he said. Trump also bemoaned the weaponization of the Department of Justice and said the country was going communist. I just don't understand. Kevin Banks, my brother. Good morning, bro. Just got my flu shot. Yeah. Follow his lead now. Follow his lead. Hey, what's up, Jack? Antonio Jackson, good advice. Good morning. Good morning. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. Yeah, get your flu shots. Start taking care of yourselves, y'all. But let's get into this, because there's some other things that's going to lead into this, because Donald Trump said this the other day in defense of the people who stormed the Capitol on the insurrection that we've been talking about. Said they've been treated unfairly, everything. We all seen the footage. We've all seen the investigation. We've all seen everything they did. And there's some oath keepers that were sentenced this week. Had how many years they're going to get. It was 5 of them that were sentenced this week. How many years they're going to get hasn't come out. The sentencing part hasn't come out. But they've been found guilty of the insurrection. Seditious conspiracy is what they were found guilty of, 5 of them. And then we have a former president coming out, Evan Lopez Sr. Good morning, my brother. Good morning. We have a former president coming out saying that these people have been treated unfairly of what they've done and everything like that. Where's the disconnect here? Where's the disconnect here? And I ask that question because there's a lot of things going on, and we're going to get into this smorgasbord of things real quick. But we talk about what Donald Trump just said about the insurrectionists. There's a lot of reporting on Kanye West and what he said and what he's posted and swastikas and he likes Hitler and all these things. Then we're gonna rehash the Kyrie Irving and what he said and how he posted something and people in an uproar and everything. So I'm gonna go down this rabbit hole today, and that's what this part is going to be about. The majority of the show today is going to be down this rabbit hole of how these inconsistencies of how we react to certain things is not specifically what it's about. It's about who said it, who posted it, what it deals with, and the consequences of your actions, no matter how old you are or anything like that. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to start with Kanye West, Kyrie Irving, Donald Trump, the comments they've made, Elon Musk, you can talk about it, Democrats, Republicans who have made comments about the white supremacists, how they're not a threat to the democracy and all these different things you can think about. But you've had Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, these Republicans and different people have come out in defense of these folks who tried to overthrow the government, who have marched with tiki torches and all these different things that we know about the white supremacy moves, the Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, whatever organizations that I've put on here before talked about how many people are involved in these movements. And I've never once heard them have to come out and apologize for their stance of defending these folks. And I've never seen anyone in the community, and I'm just going to go black and white here for a minute. I've never seen anybody in the white community to hold them accountable for what they've said, what they've posted, or what they've done. But then when I look at the other side of this, when I talk about the Kyries and Kanye, it seems to me that we have people like Stephen A. Smith, we have Charles Barkley, we have Shaquille O'Neal, who sit up on a platform that they have, and they call them idiots. They call them ignorant. They call them all kind of things out of their name because they don't agree with them. I'm not saying they have to agree with them, but when do we get to the point where we stop calling names and just state facts? This week, Jerry Jones was in the news. I don't know if it was this week or last week. We've been gone a little while, so I'm trying to catch up. But Jerry Jones was in the news because there was a photo that showed him in Arkansas back in 1957, blocking the pathway of some African-American students that were supposed to be integrating this school in Little Rock, Arkansas. And everybody resorted to defending Jerry Jones about the picture because they said he was 14 or 15 years old. And why should we hold him accountable now that he's 80 years old for something he did when he was 14 years old? What we have to look at is the fact of what that picture stood for at the time it was taken. What was happening at the time that it happened? Do we just forget everything that he may have done at 14 and 15? Because I'm going to say this. A lot of people will agree, a lot of people won't, but I will say this. In his answer to the questions of why he was there and what went on that day, he said, and I'm paraphrasing, that he was there to see what was going to happen, even after the coaches told the football team that he was playing on not to go there. But he said he was there to see what was going on, what was happening, and everything there. Not that he agreed with the people, but he was there. And everybody took that from what Jerry Jones said as being, as a 14-year-old kid, he was curious. But I want you to think about this, because people who look like me have been charged with these type of things through their life, one time or another. Guilty by association. Because we hear it all the time in the black community that if somebody that you hang with or you're associated with or you're friends with is dealing drugs or doing something on the corner or breaking windows or stealing cars and everything, you are pulled in question because you're friends of this person and guilty by association. But we don't use that on the other side of the coin. You can't tell me that in that time period, that Jerry Jones just decided to be a curious young white male to go and see what was going on rather than having the same mindset of those who were there to do harm. No different, and I'm going to go back again, no different than those who participated and went to see what was going on January 6th at the Capitol. Whether you were there as a bystander or whether you were one of the people that got in that hallway, you're just as guilty because you were there with a demonstration to overthrow the government. Cut and dry. But we seem to have these people who look like me that give him and other folks the benefit of the doubt, but they don't give people that look like them the benefit of the doubt. I'm just trying to understand from my point of view, where and what are we doing? I see different things all day long, different reports. I do a lot of reading. I pull up these articles. I listen to interviews and podcasts just to see where the state of us as a people is, or where the state of us as a people are. And it's just amazing to me and shocking at the same time that we would get on a podcast or an interview or in front of a camera or any of those type things and feel comfortable calling someone who looks like me, because we have a difference of opinion, a sellout, a Uncle Tom, a coon, anything derogatory, not because we know that person, but because we don't agree with their view. And I will continue saying this until I go to my grave. What causes us to get to the point where we want to call somebody out of their name because we don't agree with them? Why is this so easy for us to do? Why? Because when you see Jerry Jones in this situation, most people that look like Jerry Jones came to Jerry Jones's defense. But when Kyrie said the earth was flat, people just thought, nah, he's crazy. But there's been many people in this life who have said the earth was flat. Shaquille O'Neal said the earth was flat. You ain't heard about that after he said it the one time or a couple times. When Jerry Jones was in this situation, and I don't agree with that or whatever, I don't. But the bottom line is we got to stop overlooking these things. And then this is the other part. When we do something that is newsworthy, the first thing other folks do is throw a microphone in front of the face, in the face of someone that looks like the person who said what they said to get our opinion. And what do we do in most cases? We tear them down. We don't say we agree with them. We go totally against what they said. But sometimes the name calling in there is what grabs the headlines. Not the fact that we didn't agree, and this is what I said because of why I don't disagree. None of that is stated. What is stated is anything and everything negative that I could have said about this brother because I don't agree. Because we've done this over and over and over again. And we continue to do it over and over and over again. I don't understand it. Maurice Wigfall, good morning, my brother. I don't understand it. I probably never will understand it. But what I will do is fight to change it. I will fight to change it. Because here's where the issue comes in. When you start calling each other out of our names, and this is just me, but you don't chime in, feel free. I'm not going to take it personal. Say what you got to say. But when we get into this mode where we're calling out our names, it's no different than what has happened with the N-word that we so, quote unquote, have used as a term of endearment. But then we get in the uproar when somebody says it, and then we want to hold them accountable for what they said when they said what they said. But at the same time, we're out here using it all willy-nilly and everything, want to hold other people accountable. It's the same thing when you're out here calling people Uncle Toms, coons, and sellouts and all these type things. It's the same principles. If you've become successful and you decide to move to a different area, or you have a job that's in a certain level, or you drive and deal with different people because this is the environment that you're in, it doesn't 100% say that you've forgotten where you've come from. Or if you talk differently, it doesn't say that you've forgotten who you are. But we're so quick because someone has decided to go a different route than us that to pull them back, we want to call them out of their name. There have been many, many successful people of color in this nation. Many. There have been many, many successful people of color who have married outside of their race. And there's this label that's put on people who have become successful, or they forgot where they came from, or they've married out of the race, or he don't like black women. These labels that we put on people, because it's something I say and I continue to say, is I don't know these people's hearts. So for me to call them out their name goes against everything that I've ever been raised upon. Judge, don't judge unless be judged. But you have some people, black power, married to a black woman, doing everything in the community. But we'll go behind closed doors and talk about those same people. Do you judge him? Or they're doing it for a show. They're doing it for the sensationalism that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Not because they mean it, just because they don't want to seem like and be called or labeled a sellout, a coon, or Uncle Tom. These are the names we hear all the time when somebody doesn't agree with somebody. I've heard it so many times with Herschel Walker. I thought his first name was Tom. I say that facetiously, but damn, let's be real here. Art Cheese, good morning, my brother. Good morning, appreciate you. Before Herschel Walker got into politics or anything like this, I never heard him called that. All I ever heard about Herschel Walker when he was in college, running back, when he played football and everything like that, and when he was with the Dallas Cowboys, there's a whole lot of y'all out there that are Cowboys fans that love Herschel Walker. Loved him. Now that he decides to speak exactly how he feels about things, now y'all calling him all kind of names. There's a lot of y'all Cowboy fan people that are Cowboy fans out there that love Jerry Jones, but defending him with this picture quicker than you would defend your brother who just happened to be in a certain place at a certain time. Why is that? Edward Allen, you know his history with Trump? Yeah, I know his history with Trump. He didn't go in the NFL because Donald Trump was starting the USFL, and that's where he went. He went to play with the USFL rather than the NFL when he first started, when he came out of Georgia. Because Donald Trump was starting the league. They've been like this forever. Guilty by association? You could say that. But what I'm saying is, yes, he's been with Trump, and here's the thing. We hold Trump accountable for the things he says now, but Trump has had these same feelings his whole life. But every rapper, every industry person wanted to be like Trump. They talked about Trump's money. They talked about everything about Trump until Trump came out and showed his true colors. And then all of a sudden things change. But we put these labels. He's going to be a rubber stamp for him. Yeah, he's going to be a rubber stamp for him. Why would we think any different? If they've been that close all these years and he gets elected into the position that he's running for, he feels a certain loyalty to Donald Trump. That's just who he is. But his loyalty to Donald Trump should not trump the fact that he's been called Uncle Tom and a sellout and a coon for a long period of time now. We don't know why the loyalty there. We don't know what they do together. We don't know what kind of relationship they have other than what we're shown. The vitriol comes from, his association with Donald Trump. I understand that. But if we didn't know he was associated with Donald Trump, let's just go here real quick for a question, a quick minute. If we didn't know his association with Donald Trump, and Herschel Walker stood up on that stage as just Herschel Walker and said the things that he said, he would still be labeled what he is already being labeled. Because that's his beliefs. That's what he understands to be true. Some of it may be influenced by the people he's been around. James Battle, good morning, my brother. Some of that may be influenced by the people he's been around, but sometimes our environment dictates our meaning and our understanding of how things look and how things are. I just don't understand. Without, okay, then look at him side by side with Warnock. Okay, some people have a problem with Warnock. I mean, nobody's going to agree 100% of the time. Don't get me wrong. That's not the point I'm saying. Side by side with Warnock, their mentality, the way they view things as two black men raised in Georgia are completely different as far as the way they see it. But you have to think about it. One is a pastor. One has worked his way up to serve people, to serve the people. One was raised being told every day how great he is as an athlete and made his name off being an athlete. And who are the people that have been paying him, the owners and the general managers and those people? The ones he's gravitated to. Some people say a senator should not be a pastor. There's a conflict of interest. Church and state. Some of Raphael Warnock's beliefs could be spiritually based rather than politically based. But when he goes to vote, do we question it? See, those are the things that I'm bringing up. And I don't want people to think that I'm on here bashing, Warnock, Herschel Walker, Donald Trump. I'm bringing things to light that we need to have discussions about. And my biggest discussion we need to have is when we start labeling people because they have a different opinion or a different way of viewing things. We ain't gonna agree on all that. But at the same time, we had to come to some happy medium. Whatever happened to the point of agreeing to disagree? Agreed to disagree. Brian Hoodie, good morning. Good morning. Appreciate you, bro. We will talk later. Yeah, we can talk about it. That's what this is for, to have that conversation, to get an understanding to where we can come to a happy meeting where we agree to disagree. I'm not saying I'm right because I got the microphone. And I'm not saying you're right or wrong because you got the ability to chime in or anything like that. I'm not saying anything that we discuss on this show or anything is right or wrong. What I'm doing is trying to bring things to light so we can have these conversations. Because one of the things that I've noticed over the 2 weeks that I've been gone, total of 2 weeks really, everything that I listen to or pay attention to is everyone wants to have and be right. Nobody wants to get to a point where we can have a discussion and understand that we agree probably more than we disagree, but on the things that we disagree about, we can disagree without being labeled something that we're not, or something that we have been historically told that this is what you are if you don't agree. Our history shows that if in back in the day, during slavery and leading up after that, you had a lot of people who, if they agreed with the slave master or if they worked in the house with the slave master, they were called the house Negro or a sellout or all these different labels that was put on it, and it's gone through generation and generation and generation. And my biggest question is, when do we stop this? When do we get to the point where we've evolved? Let's just start here. We've evolved. We are better educated. We're financially more secure than we were and our ancestors were. We live a lot better than they did. We have different opportunities at this point. But we all harken back to the same baseline of what went on then, where there's this infighting, this crabs in a barrel mentality, where we can't just ascend to different levels in our lives without someone looking at us one day and seeing where our position is about how we think about something and being called a name that doesn't even identify who I am. That's all I'm saying. We have to get to a point where we all step back for a minute. We all step back for a minute and see what part we play in the dehumanizing of our own people. And when I say dehumanizing is when we get into calling the names. Because we will call out somebody else quickly for calling somebody the N-word or calling somebody, but we won't step in when we call our own selves, our own people, these same names that are derogatory. That's all I'm bringing up in this conversation, because when I look at what's going on with Kyrie, for Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley to sit on a panel on national TV of TNT and have this discussion, and for them to call him an idiot, and then to know that Shaquille O'Neal has a movie theaters, and one of his movie theaters in New Jersey was showing the same movie that Kyrie tweeted about, but he didn't take and go tell them that he didn't want it shown in his theater because it's about his bottom line. But who's the idiot? The one that just tweeted it from what somebody else tweeted, or the person who's shown in his theater for financial gain? Which one is it? Because before you throw stones, you need to check yourself. That's all I'm saying in this conversation with Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley, when he was an athlete, was throwing people through windows when he didn't agree with what they said to him. But we swiped that away because now he's an analyst on TV. So when they sit up here, and I have a problem with sometimes when they sit up there and chastise and break down these athletes that are in the NBA and feel that they can say anything and everything about them because of how much money they make. They're making the money because of their talent. Their talent does not justify or recognize who they are as men, and they should be treated as such. But from that level, all the way down to the me level and our level, who may not be making the money they make, who may see things completely different than they see it. But we all have this same mentality to tear down each other rather than build each other up. Your success, where you stand, how you feel about a situation should not cause me to automatically go to the point of calling you out of your name. Why? Why does this happen? Why? If I'm making millions of dollars, because I have a talent, or I have a doctorate degree that I can do certain things, or I'm at the pinnacle, or I own a business or anything like that, and we have a conversation, and you don't agree with me as far as how I feel about something or something I've said in the conversation, why does it automatically turn to I'm this or I'm that? Why can't it turn to the fact of saying, as men, I hear what you're saying, but I have to respectfully disagree with you on that as far as where I stand. You see how different that conversation could be? Rather than, oh man, you're a sellout. And most of the time, let's just start here. Most of the time, if you're having that conversation with somebody face to face, you won't come out of your mouth and call him a sellout or Uncle Tom or a coon, not to his face. But when you rehash that conversation with somebody else, that's when all those names come out. So I'll add this in there too. If you can't say it to the person's face when you're talking to them face to face, then don't say it at all. Man up. If you feel that strongly about it, say it when you're in his face, not when he leaves. OT is the best unscripted show. Not meant to be, bro. Not meant to be. I'm just trying to put this out there because it's something that's just not sitting well with me, man. It's just, as a young man growing up, being called an Oreo, being called different names because of the proximity of where we lived, sits unsettling with me at this point in my life. There's certain things that we all have triggers about from our past. Let's just be honest. That's one for me. That's why I'm so hell-bent on the fact of why we throw these derogatory terms out at each other Because the bottom line is this: if we heard it from somebody that didn't look like us, and I can attest to this, we'd be ready to fight. We'd be ready to fight. And when I was a child, I got in so many fights over the N-word. Hell, I got in fights because somebody would say, your mama. Just who I was. And let alone if they said your daddy, knowing that my father was passed away, that was a whole nother conversation. But when I see these things happen in our community at this time in my life, 56 years on this earth, and I see these things still happening over and over and over again, I got to speak on this. Because it's bothering me, it's got to be bothering some of y'all too. It just doesn't make sense to me because we've come too far. Try being told you're not black enough. Well, I didn't want to go all the names, but yes, that too. Oreo, you talk like a white boy. You talk like white people. Why you reading all the time? Why you trying to get A's and all the anything you can think of? We've all heard it. And Big Al, you just made my point. We've all in the African American black community have heard this one time or another. But it still does not stop us from calling somebody else out of their name, even though it's happened to us, knowing that that's not who we are. Just because you say it, don't make it true. But if we all have been in this experience and had this experience, why do we continue to let it keep going? Why do we continue to not be able to agree to disagree and can get to the point? Because here's what I know to be true, and this is what I've always been told. And I live by this. If you're in a conversation and you get to a point where the differences are there and they're getting stronger and this person has their opinion, you have your opinion. Once one of those people in that conversation resorts to name calling, that's a sign that he has nothing else to add to the conversation. He has technically lost the conversation. When you resort to going to negativity and name calling because you don't have nothing else to add to the point you're trying to get across, says everything that needs to be said. I keep that in my mind when I have these conversations. And if I get to the point where I'm having a conversation with somebody and they just not hearing me, or I feel that my point's not getting across, before I get to the point of who I used to be, watch the key word, of who I used to be, I respectfully bow out. Because it's not the fact that you bowed out because of cowardice. You've bowed out because you've gotten to a point where you can add nothing else tangible to that conversation unless you resort to name calling. So before I get to that point, I respectfully bow out. And then what I do is I take my time and I go and I read more in depth about what I was talking about to get better understanding of what I need to say in the next conversation I may have. But I refuse at this time in my life to continue to go around and hearing people continually calling people out their name just because they don't agree. Or we look at, and I'm gonna play this LeBron James video here in a minute that touches on something not as in depth as I've been talking, but something that we all recognize, but he finally stood up and said something about it. He put them on notice that you asked me about this. How come you ain't asked me about that? It was needed. It was warranted. Because what they'll do is they play the sides. We'll ask him about this because he's probably going to say something that doesn't agree with what that person said, that person of color said. We ain't going to ask him about that. We already know how he feels. Do you really? And all I'm saying to my people and on this show today, pause. Pause. Before you get to the point where you're in a conversation or you get that angry or you get that pent up anger in you, where you're having a conversation and you don't feel that other person is actually hearing you or disagrees with you so heartily that your point is not getting across, pause. Pause. And the reason I say pause is because we all know that our human nature in us is to respond back to be hurtful or to try to prove our point by going down that rabbit hole that we don't want nobody to go down about us, about who you are, who they think you are, where you come from, where they think you don't want to be a part of no more, you've forgotten where you come from, all those things involved. It's time for us to step back and look at ourselves individually first. Because we always talk about when these things go on, we always talk about how we need to come together. We came together during George Floyd. When George Floyd was murdered, we all sat there and watched that TV. We all came together because we seen the injustice. And right, wrong, and different about George Floyd, whether he was on drugs or anything, did not justify his murder. And I will continue saying that. But we all came together because we all seen somebody, whether it be you or somebody you know, could have been George Floyd. And as time went on, it went from here and it just trickled down. It just trickled down. Because we didn't get in there and start doing the work we needed to do to start changing these systematic things that are going on. When we talk about, and Al, you asked the question earlier, when you talk about, the difference between Warnock and Herschel Walker, those are the conversations we should be having about anybody against anybody when they're running for office, because what we do is we go and we look and we see Republican or Democrat. And if you're Republican, you check all R's. If you're Democrat, you check all D's. What we need to do is start researching these people and hold them accountable when they're running for office, not just the ones that look like us. This race in Georgia has been the most hotly contested race of any election this midterm. Why? Think about it for a minute. You have two Black men running for a Senate seat in Georgia. One is going to win. But when in your life did you think that you have two Black men running for a Senate seat in Georgia? The state of Georgia now. And then you have to go into account and ask the question, who ran against Herschel Walker for the Republican ticket? Who did Herschel Walker beat to get the nomination to be the Republican representative for Georgia? Anybody got a name? I got a name for you. The name is nobody. They put nobody up against Herschel Walker in the state of Georgia to run against Raphael Warnock. Why? Because what they thought, and this is just me from what I read, my opinion and what I've seen happen. What they thought was Black folks, African American folks, would be in a toss-up as far as who they would vote for in Georgia. And no matter how incoherent some of the things that Herschel Walker says about where he stands, you have some people in Georgia who will vote for Herschel Walker just because he's Herschel Walker. They had bad candidates. Did they have bad candidates? Because last time when Warnock won and Ozoff won, you had Purdue. Was it Purdue? And he had Loeffler. So you're telling me in the state of Georgia, there was nobody, there was a better candidate than Herschel Walker. And you said it earlier, Herschel Walker and Donald Trump have a certain relationship. So did he influence the fact of, I want Herschel Walker to run, and everybody in Georgia said, okay? These are just questions. I don't know the facts. But what I do know, come next week, y'all better be at them polls and let your voice be heard. And go and vote for the person you feel is capable of doing the job. Not vote for the one that you feel is not a sellout compared to the other. When you run them side by side, as far as what they stand for and what you think they'll do for the state of Georgia sitting in the Senate. That's all I'm saying. Because here's the reason I say that. You never hear us say this about white candidates running against white candidates. Is he a sellout? Is he Uncle Ty? Oh, he loves black folks too much. You never hear that in that realm of politicians. You never hear that in your job. You never hear somebody at your job say, he got that position because he's black. You never hear somebody say he got that position because he's white. You never hear them say, oh, all of us can't be standing around together. They're going to get suspicious. They see 5 of us standing around together. You never hear that in the conversations. You never hear them say, well, if I make this hire, they're going to look at me differently because, I'm hiring all black folks. You never hear them say, oh, I'm hiring all white folks. I gotta be careful. I gotta hire at least one. You never hear those conversations of people of non-color. And the reason why you don't hear those conversations is because we sometimes get to the point where we feel that we have to pick and choose what battles we want to fight when it comes to our hiring practices, even though they may be on the up and up. You have times where maybe you're the only African-American at the job or in your circle or any of those type things. And you tread lightly because, you're worried about how they may view you. But at the same time, you got people out here who you may be in there fighting a good fight, calling you out of your name because your association at work or the position you hold at work or the people you're in these conferences with and so on and so on and so forth. You have to take into account, and I've been in this situation, when you walk into a boardroom sometime for conferences and everything like that, you don't automatically look around to see if you're the only black in the conference room or in the meeting room or anything like that. You don't have to. But there's certain times where you walk in there and you'll see somebody that looks like you and they fail to acknowledge you. It happens. We're both there trying to do the same thing. We're both there fulfilling obligations for our livelihood. Nobody and neither of us are in there to try to take the other person's position. Neither of us are in there trying to outdo the other so one is accepted more than the other. I say that because that's what this Georgia Senate race is about. Who belongs in the room or who they would prefer to be in the room. Just saying. Just saying. Let me play this video real quick. It's LeBron James talking about the Jerry Jones photo.
I got one question for you guys before you guys leave. I was thinking when I was on my way over here, I was wondering why I haven't gotten a question from you guys about the Jerry Jones photo. But when the Kyrie thing was going on, you guys were quick to ask us questions about that.
Okay.
Hold on. And I don't even want you guys to say nothing. When I watched Kyrie talk and he says, I know who I am, but I want to keep the same energy when we're talking about my people and the things that we've been through. And that Jerry Jones photo is one of those moments that our people, black people, have been through in America. And I feel like as a black man, as a black athlete, as someone with power and a platform, when we do something wrong or something that people don't agree with, it's on every single tabloid, every single news coverage. It's on the bottom ticker. It's asked about every single day. But it seems like to me that the whole Jerry Jones situation photo, and I know it was years and years ago and we all make mistakes, I get it. But it seemed like it's just been buried under like, oh, it happened. Okay, we just move on. And I was just kind of disappointed that I haven't received that question from you guys. Appreciate it.
There we go. There's a lot of people that don't agree with LeBron James and a lot of things he says, he does. Some people don't like his game. You are who you are. But if you watch that clip and you didn't have a certain feeling about the power that he showed at that time to call out those in that room for their lack of being clear, their lack of understanding of what he was saying and why he was saying what he was saying, you have to applaud him for standing up. People will say, well, he makes all this money, shut up and dribble. All these different things they have said about LeBron James. It is what it is. But we have too many people who won't speak up. And never once in there, never once, they resort to calling names. And just like when the person tried to help me, say, hold on. Let me speak. And I don't need a response. I'm just going to say what I got to say. That's what we need to be doing. We need to start standing up for what we know is right, defending those, even if we don't agree with them, before we get to the point of calling people out of their names, disagreeing with people because their views are different. And I want to add this in here real quick. Kanye West has been talking about Hitler. He agreed with Hitler. Hitler made highways. He made all the different things he's created while he was in power or anything like that. That he supports Nazis and he supports, Jewish people and all these different things he said. But as I said earlier, think about all the politicians who don't look like Kanye, who have said they agree with Vladimir Putin. They agree or they've had interactions or deal with or had gone to speak at their functions of white supremacists. The ones who support those movements and the people in those movements and break bread with them and all the different things you can say. But the one concentration we have right now is Kanye West. This has been newsworthy for at least a month now. We have people that are going to be sitting in congressional seats, elected officials who interact and deal with white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and the like, that have not been called to the carpet for their interactions or been told that they need to distance themselves like they did Barack Obama and Jeremiah Wright. All the things you can think of through history, there's never been accountability for them when they have or will coordinate or have interactions or break bread with those people that have these strong views in white supremacy, neo-Nazism, Jews will not replace us, and so on and so forth. So the next time one of you or any of you or somebody that you know or anything decides to retort or resort to calling people out of their name because they don't agree and he looks like you or me or anything like that and they don't agree and they get to calling out the names, stop them. and ask the question, is this more about how he looks or what he thinks? Watch the pause that comes in then. Because as much as we want to ride Kanye about his views and all this type of stuff and everything that he says and all the different things, think about it this way. They didn't agree with Martin Luther King Jr.'s views either. But we put him on a pedestal. And I'm not trying to compare the two. I'm just telling you, when the powers that be don't agree with you, no matter what stature you are, no matter what status you may have, when they don't agree with you, they make it a point for you to know they don't agree with you. Just saying. Just putting it out there. Let's go ahead and get this out the way. Mind, body, and soul. Mind, body, and soul. Year 2022, 1,440 minutes. You get 1,440 moments each and every day. Take advantage of it in this 24-hour day. Today goes along with what we've been talking about. No quote. Nothing written down. Today is mind, body, and soul. Is self-evaluation. Self-evaluation. It's something we should all do from time to time. It's something we should do after we have conversations with people just to see and evaluate where we stand on an issue and maybe where we can change our thinking a little bit. I'm not telling you to change your mind. I'm just telling you to look at things a little differently, which is what this platform and this show is all about. I'm not here, and I've said this many times before, this show was created, and what I do on this show is not to change anybody's mind. Never once did I want to change anybody's mind about anything. This show was created, and what I speak on this show is to make you think differently. Make you look at the broader picture rather than the tunnel vision that we most of the time have. Self-evaluate where you stand on these issues. Self-evaluate where you stood when you were 14 or 15 and where you stand now that you're older. Self-evaluate. I'm pretty sure. I'm not even going to go there. Self-evaluate. And the reason I tell you self-evaluate is because we do a lot of self-evaluating about a lot of things in our lives. We evaluate how we're doing our job. We evaluate how we're doing things in our relationship with our significant other. We evaluate how we are as family members. We evaluate everything except how we really think and feel about situations when they're right in front of us. There's a lot of things that have gone on in this world and in this country that a lot of us don't agree with. There's a lot of things that have happened to us as individuals that sways our thinking because of our values and our ethics, and everything that's going on in your life has impacted you some way in how you think. But sometimes in life, you have to reevaluate and self-evaluate everything that is going on with you up to this point. And think how differently you think now compared to how you thought then. And in that evaluation, you'll come up to the point where nothing to say that your mind has changed, but you've taken other things into account to come to the conclusion on why you think that way. What we have to do in that self-evaluation is go inside ourselves and find out why we do and feel the way we do. And I guarantee you, when you do that self-evaluation, it'll give you a better understanding of why you should not be calling people out of their names, because sometimes, somehow, some way you've been called out of your name, and you should think about how it feels. Somehow, some way you've done something to somebody in your life that you wish you could take back. Somehow, some way, someone has said something to you that you're still holding a grudge about to this day that you wish that you could just reach out and let it go. But unless you do those evaluations, this cycle will continue going on and on and on. And then you'll get to that point in your life where you're going to sit down and finally do a real evaluation of yourself and realize that a lot of what's going on with you in your life deals with a lot of the things you've been holding on to because you didn't take the time to self-evaluate and let it go. Sometimes you got to let that stuff go. This conversation we had today about all these things going on, Look, I'm just a messenger. I'm just trying to get across that we got to get to a point where we understand we can agree to disagree without being derogatory about how we feel about somebody. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. And I'll leave you with that. And that's the mind, body, and soul for today. I appreciate everybody tuning in. It was an Unscripted Saturday. Next week, we'll be back. We'll be back again next week. I haven't come up with the point of when I'm going to shut off for the holidays yet, but I'll keep you posted on that. But keep doing what y'all doing out there. And all I'm going to ask you is this, man. Pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on around you and evaluate the whole picture. Not just the tunnel vision. Don't have the tunnel vision. Look at the whole picture. Because sometimes just something so small can affect somebody in a major way. We've all been called out of our name. We've all been called people out of their name. But if you sit back and think about it, I'm pretty sure if there's certain things you could say you could take back, you would. And most of the time, what we find out is we call people out of their names more often that we don't know than the ones we do know. And why is that? Because the ones we do know, we give the benefit of the doubt. The ones we don't know, we're hell-bent that whatever they're saying, we don't agree with. They're this or they're that. Think about that. Because if someone thought about you that same way, you would think differently. I appreciate everybody tuning in. As I always say before I sign off, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely, keep your faith in God. I'm your boy, R.W. Collins. I'll see y'all again next week, and I'm out. Holla at me. Peace.